Welcome back. I'm Gary Parr, and you are listening to Fiber Talk, the twice weekly podcast for needlework artists. Our artist this week, Dana Jones from Sela Creative Company. And fair warning to all listeners, this is going to be an enabling podcast. I'm going to help you spend your money, which is a specialty of mine, and we're going to help you do that this time. Yes, because it's already going to cost me some money. So there we go. Dana, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
And Dana won't turn the business down either, so don't feel good. You live in one of my favorite parts of the country, the Oregon coast. What did you say? A half mile from the ocean? Just
Yeah.
gorgeous living.
When
Yeah.
yeah, we live about a half a mile from the beach and we can walk there, if we want to. We live in a place where people from all over the country and the world come to visit and vacation.
Uh-huh.
I don't take that lightly. I think it's pretty amazing to be in a place where people want to go.
Yeah.
And both of my kids work within the tourist industry. My son is a caddy on a golf course, and
Uh-huh.
my daughter works at a gelato shop downtown. So we are constantly always interacting with people that love coming to the Oregon coast. And one of the things that I love about where we live, particularly, we don't have a view of the ocean, but at nighttime when the tide is coming in, we actually can hear the ocean's roar from our back
Oh.
patio.
Oh boy. Oh man. Oh yeah. I made several trips to the Oregon there, and that's why I don't live there. I have no idea. Why I stayed in the Midwest, it makes no sense because it's just beautiful country. Well, you win. You win, no doubt. All right, so we're going to talk about Dana is a maker of a lot of laser cut things and some really cool needlework bobbins and things that we'll get to in a minute. But you also do needlework, as we can see on the wall behind you.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, the other way. You always have to go the
Yeah.
opposite way that you think. Yeah. Uh, how does needlework come to you?
I was always a creative kid. I did like latch hook when I was 7. My mom was a knitter, and so she taught me to knit early on. When I was in college, instead of going out to parties, I was oftentimes crocheting in my dorm until like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
I just, I would rather be doing things with my hands than out drinking at a party or something.
Yeah.
And I've always been a creative person. So about 10 years ago, it's a really cool story about how that happened. We could talk about that later, but I ended up deciding to quit the work that I was doing and pursue my art full time. I was a hand painted sign maker at the time, and I ended up sharing a lot about my life through the work that I was doing. And I hopped on social media on Instagram and built up a nice, comfy following there and was able to start a full time business, hand painting signs. I've since then moved on to other products. I did some weaving, I did some uh, paperwork a little bit. But now I mostly focus on laser made goods. But when you're a creative entrepreneur and your business is creativity, um, like I had to find a different outlet to do when I wasn't working.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was a lot of these like stitch kits that you can just get at Joann's or Michael's.
Right.
Just something for me to work on when I wasn't working, but I wanted to have my hands busy. So I have teenagers, and my son plays basketball and baseball. And oftentimes when we go to tournaments in between games, I just pull out a stitch kit and I just work on it because I just need to have my hands busy.
Right.
And it's just a better use of my time than just sitting and scrolling on my phone. So I have a full time creative business, but stitching is actually my hobby instead of what my actual business is.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, the hours hauling kids back and forth and waiting for them to get finished, and yeah, games, and oh yeah, there's a lot of stitching time in there. Yep.
There is, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting to get a bunch of stitchers together who have school age kids, and how many hours a year do you put in stitching in the car, sitting on the bleachers? Yeah,
Yeah.
all those things. Yep. Yeah, why not? Yeah. So a creative home when you grew up. So many artists there's always something creative going on, and that kind of drives it. You had that?
Yeah, my grandma, Betty, was very creative. She made us like Cabbage Patch dolls when we were kids.
Oh,
She had a craft room, and then down in her basement at her house, she had an art studio. I never actually saw her paint down there, but we'd go down there and there'd be like a chalkboard and then all these paintings that she had done, like kind of like hanging like crooked on a nail, you know? And so we would just go down and play in there, and so that was, my grandma was super creative. My mom, she was a canner. She sewed clothes, and then for many years she has knit mittens, and she
oh,
donates probably hundreds of mitten sets to Coats for Kids in Wisconsin, or it's Warm Up Wisconsin or something like that. And so she has made thousands of mittens throughout the years. And so, yeah, I definitely grew up with creativity in my home. And I actually started doing creative things, paint by numbers. Like I said earlier, latch hook. There's that one thing where you have like a wooden spool with the nails on top, and then you like weave
yes,
string. I don't know what that's called, but I
yeah,
remember doing that when
yep.
I was a kid too. And so I was always doing something creative. And like in high school, I was always the kid that was asked to draw the bubble letters on the homecoming signs.
Oh, you're that
You know,
kid.
I was
Oh,
that
yeah,
kid.
that one. Okay, yeah.
Yep. Yep. And so then I
Standard
go to
issue. Yeah.
college, right? So I go to college and I get a degree in recreation management because I think that I'm going to be a camp director. And then years later, that doesn't pan out. And here I am starting a business, hand painting signs, doing the lettering again. So basically, I could have just bypassed college altogether and just kept drawing the letters. And I would probably be like $25,000 richer because I didn't have a college degree.
Yeah, I'm sure your parents have had that discussion. Yeah. Hmm.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What do we do here? Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. So hand painting. So you have a business hand painting signs. You just how do you just somebody asks you and it just builds off of that? That's weird.
Yeah, I started, I mean, when my husband and I were first married, we were pretty poor. And so, like, I was trying to, like, decorate my house with things. And so I saw a friend who had a painted sign in her house, and I was like, oh, I could probably do that too. And so then I started making them for myself and also for, like, Christmas gifts and stuff.
Uh
I
huh.
think this is a really typical story of makers and how they start doing things for themselves and then for gifts, and then their friends commission them to do
Right.
it for them,
Yeah.
and then one thing just leads to another, and then I ended up, like I said earlier, quitting my job at the church that I was working at so I could pursue my art full time, and I ended up just hopping on Instagram, and people liked my stuff, and like I started selling stuff on Instagram, and then it turned into a full-time business, and I've been doing it for a decade.
Boy. Yeah. No, that's a very standard story. A lot of
Yeah.
people, it just evolves out of something you enjoy doing, and you make a business out of it, and then if you still get the joy out of it, it's double benefit. Then yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Because there's people who burn themselves out on their hobby when they make it into a business, but that's easy to do too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I've definitely gone through stages of burnout as well. And there's so many lessons to learn in burnout. But like for me, I've worked for myself for so many years that I call myself the unemployable. Just
Uh-huh.
simply because like I've been marching to the beat of my own drum for so long, and my schedule's been my own for so long that it's difficult for me to be like, wait a minute, you want me to be somewhere at 9 o'clock in the morning and stay until 5 o'clock in the afternoon? Like,
No.
no, I'm not interested in that.
Yep. Yeah. How do you control that? Because my wife and I did a trade magazine, edited and produced trade magazines for ever, and it was 10 years ago we started working from home. And when we first started, we finally sat down one day and had to have that come to Jesus moment where, we have to cut the work off at some point in the day, and it has to stop on Friday afternoon. because we were
Yeah.
letting it was just consuming all 7 days, all the time. And we had to say, all right, this has to stop. How do you control that? Does raising kids control that for you, or do you have to kind of monitor yourself? I mean, there's got to be a break. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely seasons where I do it better than others. Um, when I in the work that I do with laser stuff, it's pretty easy to just turn it off and then turn it on in the morning. But but there are times when, like, when my bunny bobbins went viral, and we'll talk about that later,
Yeah. Yeah.
like I was literally running two lasers making bunny bobbin sets from 6:30 in the morning until 11 o'clock at night for months, 7 days a week. And so when you have a situation like that, like, you either are all in with the work and your family understands, or you have to hire people to help you. And then you ride that wave for a little while, and then it slows down again. And so for me, I don't have a very good, like, work balance, but my family also understands, and I'm also here and available. And so, like, it's not like I'm gone from the house 12 hours a day. But I might be up in my studio 12 hours a day, just depending on the workload, or also like the creative flow energy. Like, creative flow is hard to come by these days, especially if you run your business on social media, because you're always having to have your camera going and recording stuff. But if you can find creative flow, and for me, like, I was in it last night, I was making some products for the store that I stock some things in, and like, I just needed to keep going.
Yeah.
And it was after 5, and my husband and I went and had some dinner, and we came back, and I just kept working because I was in this flow and I wanted to keep going with it and finish it. And then, maybe tonight I won't need to do that because I finished the project that I was working on
Yeah.
last night. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I think it's been a little bit tricky for my family, just because my husband is very much like an 8 to 5 Monday to Friday kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
And as a creative,
Yeah.
I am
Doesn't work.
not.
Yeah.
And right. And I have to run when the creativity is flowing. And oftentimes that's late at night. And then I like really slow starts to the day too. So, like, I'll get a cup of coffee and drink it for like an hour. And then I'll finally kind of sort of get started on the
Yeah.
day.
Uh-huh.
And then I'll just work later into the evening. And like I said before, it helps because I'm here. I'm not elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so my kids I'm always available to my kids and to my husband, but I may have my hands in the middle of something.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like you have a family support too, which is important. It's yeah, you're there. They know you're there, and
Yep.
it all works. Yeah, yeah, because you have to have that so that you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, like, today, like, my son is caddying at the golf course. So, like, I dropped him off at 8 o'clock this morning. And then we're doing this podcast interview. And then I'll get some more work done until about 1 when he needs to be picked up. And then I'll go get him and bring him home. And, so, like, I've always been able to really easily, like, weave my family's life and kids and sports and everything into my schedule. And so, like, if I have to do a bunch of school stuff on a Wednesday or whatever, then I'll just work on a Saturday and
Yeah,
make up for the time. And my family's gotten very used to it.
yeah, yeah. So how do we get to a laser? Well, I mean, there's
Yeah,
creative, and then there's buying a laser cutter and making product. I mean, that's
sure. Well, as you asked that question, I'm thinking in my head, how did I get here? But when I first started, like I said earlier, I was a hand painted sign maker.
hmm
And then a couple years later, I transitioned to doing stenciled signs. And with a stenciled sign, I was using a Cricut machine to
oh,
cut all my stencils.
sure,
And then, starting in the maker community, people were moving on from Cricuts and silhouette machines and making painted stencil signs to using lasers to create more intricate kinds of designs.
hmm
And a laser's not cheap.
no,
And I I didn't know very much about it, but COVID hit, And
And there we
I
go.
started thinking, right? It's a COVID thing.
Yep.
I started thinking, like, what can I do? Like, when I get bored in my business, I definitely need to either buy a new tool or come up with a new thing or whatever. For me, it's usually buying a new tool. And so I had already bought like a scroll saw and a drill press and all sorts of things to start making other products. But I was like, well, let's figure out this laser thing. And I had a friend that had had a laser for a couple of years. She was transitioning out of maker work and going to school to be a nurse. She was planning on selling her laser, and she gave me an amazing deal on
Uh,
it. The
uh-huh.
machine was probably retailed for like 6 or 7 grand, and she sold it to me for $2,000. And I had applied for a small business grant, like COVID money small business grant through my local community, small business
Uh-huh.
association, and I won the grant
Oh.
and it was for $2,000. And so I was able to use that money to buy the laser. So my husband and I, the day after Christmas, drove down to Northern California to pick it up from my friend, all during COVID. So like we'd try to go to a winery and
Oh,
like have a glass of wine and nobody would serve it
right.
because it was weird and during COVID and things.
Right.
But then I brought it home and I just figured it out. Like when you're designing for like hand painted signs and then stenciled signs, it's a completely different design concept when you start designing for lasers. It's just everything is different and layers and SVGs and breaking things apart and everything. So I had to learn a whole new system of design. And then I just started popping out cool stuff every week and coming up with things that stuck and things that didn't.
Yeah.
And we just went on from there.
Yeah. Because that's the part that I wondered about with a laser is the learning curve. So it sounds like there
Hmm.
was a healthy learning curve to it before you could really produce stuff you could sell.
Yeah, I mean, I had been a pseudo amateur graphic designer for a couple of years, so I was familiar with things.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when I started doing stenciled signs, I was designing everything on my computer already. So I had an idea
Okay.
of how it worked. And then there's also different kinds of lasers that are easier or harder to work with. My first laser was a Glowforge Pro, and a Glowforge probably best bragging point is that it's incredibly plug and play. Like you can just plug it in, open up the website for software design or whatever. And then if you have a design, you can just make it happen.
Okay.
And then there's other machines that are harder to use, that involve like mirrors and chillers and things. I don't have one of those. That would scare me. But then a couple years ago, actually last year, I upgraded to my Thunderbolt, and it's also relatively plug and play. It's a little bit more involved, but because I already had prior laser knowledge, it was a pretty easy transition to make, and it's a far superior machine.
Yeah. So like everything, there are levels of sophistication and levels of power and durability and all those things. Then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is the one you use now? Do you still have the original?
It's in my garage.
Oh, okay. All
It
right.
does. It doesn't. It's not working right now. When I retired it in the middle of the bunny bobbin craze.
Oh,
I was running my two Glowforge because I ended up buying a second one. I was running those machines for like 18 hours a day, and I felt like they were being held together by figurative band-aids.
uh-huh.
And and that's when I ended up getting the Thunderbolt, and then I still have my newer Glowforge that I use for cutting cardboard, and then I use the Thunderbolt for the majority of the things that I
Okay.
make.
So do these things, and I'm just massively curious about these things. They then apparently wear out? Are they're pretty durable, but eventually they just lose their gas.
Yeah, I would say that, just like any machine, it's going to have a certain number of hours that it operates the best.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if you take care of your machine with routine maintenance and cleaning, it'll last longer. Um, I like to say that my Thunderbolt is like a stoic German woman that just never quits and is
Uh-huh.
hardworking, no drama, and just keeps going all the time.
Yeah.
And so I've loved this machine. It's been a huge, huge blessing to my business.
Well, and if you're trying to be creative, the last thing you want is to be fighting with your machinery. You just want it to produce what you
Yeah,
create. Yeah, yeah,
exactly. Yep, I
yeah,
agree.
yeah. So, we have the laser cutters, engravers. Is it a cutter, engraver, or both?
Both.
It does. So it does the whole thing. So that means then
Mhm.
you're stocking up on is everything 1/8 inch, that wood and the acrylic, is it, or do we have variation?
For the product that I do, yes, it's all eighth inch material. There are other lasers out there that are bigger and stronger, and they can cut through thicker material.
Hmm.
For me, I have stayed small, and part of the reason why is because my studio is upstairs in my house instead of out in a garage or a shop. And my staircase, I have like 3 steps up and then a 90-degree turn, and so I can only fit certain
Oh,
size machines in my house.
okay.
And
Yeah.
so I have machines that are smaller. They are limited a little bit with size and then with power capabilities. But
Hmm.
the other part of it for me is that I'm actually not interested in creating really big products, because with really big products, it's really expensive shipping.
Yeah.
And I find that I work best with smaller items and smaller products and smaller boxes and smaller bubble mailers. And so
Right.
that's kind of been the route that I've gone.
Yeah. Okay. Now, when you're cutting wood, I mean, it effectively is burning it, isn't it? I mean,
Mhm.
is there smoke and fumes? Do you have to vent that, or not so
Yes.
much?
So, yeah, so with the Glowforge, there is an internal fan, and then I actually upgraded to an external fan that pulls it out better. And then with my Thunderbolt, it comes with an internal fan that is essentially the same as my external fan for my other one, and then it just vents out the window. Like
Oh,
this window that's behind me with the curtains, that's I have two of these windows in my studio, and both of them have a ventilation system that vents out the window.
okay. So it's not that big of a deal then,
Mm-mm.
as opposed to a wood shop where you'd have to have a whole system for sawdust
For
and
like
all that.
sawdust, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like if somebody came up here, they'd be like, "Oh, it smells a little bit like a campfire."
Yeah.
But for me, I'm very, very used to it. And if you can dial in your settings to cut the material perfectly, then you're not going to be dealing with as much smoke or char or anything like that. So
Yeah.
you have to kind of work with your materials, work with your settings, and figure out the best settings for you and what you're doing. And then you should kind of eliminate much of that after effect with smoke or with like like a charcoal smell.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I just always wondered about that when laser people. Doesn't it smell it? Don't you have to be in a garage or something? Yeah. Yeah.
I would say a lot of people that have a really big machines, they end up being out in garages or in shops.
Oh.
But I like because I this is the space that I have to use. I That's why I keep it smaller. And it's also temperature controlled in here because lasers can be finicky with the external temperature.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And so people that have their lasers out in shops or garages, they're either working with the external temperature or they're insulating their buildings so that
Yeah.
they don't have to deal with the fluctuation. Like a lot of people that have lasers down in Texas and Arizona, they're like, how do I keep this thing cool enough? It's too hot. And then people that are up in Minnesota that have lasers, they're like, my it's too cold. And so for us, we live on the Oregon coast, which is a super temperate climate.
Yeah.
And so even if I did have my lasers out in the garage, I would probably be fine just because the temperature doesn't vary that much.
Yeah. Yeah. And then getting material, even through COVID, really not too much of a problem.
Um, When I first started during COVID, most of my material came from Home Depot just because I didn't know any
Oh.
better.
Okay.
But since working more, I've honed in my favorite suppliers and where I get things. I have a couple different, like Houston Acrylics is where I get all my acrylic from. JDS Industries is where I get all of my tumblers from because I have a rotary machine that can engrave tumblers.
Yes.
And then I get all of my wood from GS2 Awards. Those are just the three that I generally shop from.
Yeah.
Um, they just tend to work the best for me. The labor that you can get at, or the material you can get at Home Depot tends to be a little bit more inconsistent with glue pockets and stuff. And
Okay.
so it's not the best
Yeah.
to use.
Yeah. So what you're getting, because that wood is a laminate. It's basically plywood, thin plywood, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so the birch that I use is actually a thin plywood with a finished laminate. And then the dark walnut that I use is actually an MDF core.
Oh.
And so that's even better because the MDF cuts super smooth
Mm-hmm.
and there tends to not be any warping, which is really helpful.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I use a couple different kinds.
Yeah. Okay. For those who are listening, MDF, medium density fiber board, right? Or fiber
Hmm.
wood or something like basically sawdust glued together is what
Exactly.
that is with a
Yep.
with a wood laminate on the outside so it looks like the real deal. Yeah, that's how that works. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Is sheets of acrylic and wood they large like you 4x8 sheets or what are we dealing with?
So for the things that I buy, I end up buying them in 19 by 12-inch sheets,
Oh,
just simply because that's the bed size that I have to work with, and
okay.
suppliers know that, and so they offer it in those smaller sizes. However, they are available in bigger sizes, and
Okay.
plenty of other people buy them. I am not. I haven't done it, but I'm guessing like 2 by 4, like feet wise. And I'm guessing probably even 4 by 8 sheets because there are people that do really, really large pieces.
Okay.
And so, and there are people that have really, really big lasers. And so they're probably dealing in much bigger sheets of material than I am.
So if you're doing large quantity, your choke point is the size of your laser then in terms of how much.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I see. I see. Yeah. All right. Tell the story about the bunny bobbins.
Oh boy.
That stuff is so cool. And this is what caught me why we had to talk to you is I got to learn about these bobbins because it's such a great idea. So how do we get started? It was the bunny bobbins that started it, right?
Yeah, so the Bunny Bobbin started it. In fact, like I was following the Glowforge Instagram page, still am, and somebody, like a maker, had made these Glowforge or these bunny bobbins on their Glowforge and showed a video of it. And basically it's like a little box that has slots in it and these little bunnies, a little cutout of a bunny, and people will wrap their embroidery thread around the bunny. So it looks like a little coat for the bunny.
Right.
And then you put them in the little box and it looks like a little bunny corral. And I was like, these are the cutest things. Where did you did you come up with the design? Where did you get it? And he said, oh, or this lady said, oh, this guy on Etsy made it. Here's the link. And so I went and I bought the design from this designer on Etsy. With the purchase, included the rights to sell 100 bobbin sets. And so I didn't really plan on selling them at all. I just thought they were so cute.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to have this for myself. And because I did a lot of stitch kits and I had a bunch of thread left over and they're just like in Ziploc bags. And I was like, this is so cute. I have to have this. And hey, I have a laser. So why don't I go ahead and make it? And so I made it and I thought it was the cutest thing ever. And when I tend to like kind of hang out on social media a lot. So I got on Instagram stories and I was just sharing with my Instagram followers. I was like, you guys, look at this. It's the cutest thing ever.
Uh-oh, here we
Um,
go.
it's just adorable. And at
Yep.
that time, I probably had like 20, 20,000 followers on Instagram, maybe
Uh-huh.
25. I'm not exactly sure. And I showed people and they're like, "Oh my gosh, can you make that for me? Can
Uh,
you make it for me?" And I was like, "Yes, I actually have the rights to sell this product." And so so anyway, I made the product and took pictures of it and listed it in my Shopify store. And then I started selling so many of them that I went back to the original designer and I offered him more money to buy a perpetual license.
uh,
And I ended up paying him like $500. And bought the rights to perpetually sell the bunny bobbins. He also threw in a shape design, and he gave me permission to use the box design and add additional animals at my disposal. And so I created a cat and a dachshund and Highland cow, llamas. And then, so I did all of those. Well, anyway, before creating a bunch of the other stuff, I just started selling the bunnies and the sheep, and I was selling hundreds of them. And then I was creating videos for Instagram Reels, and I had a reel that went viral. It got over 1 million views.
Oh, jeez.
Um, and then I got another viral reel that had almost 2 million views. And then another viral reel that had like 1.6 million views.
Wow.
And I'm getting all of these like people that are starting to follow me on Instagram. I think I grew 15 to 20,000 followers in just a few months.
Wow.
And I'm starting to get sales from literally all over the world, which is not normal for me. Iceland, France, China, Japan, Australia, Spain, Colombia, like all over the world. And they're paying more in shipping than what I'm selling the product
Right.
for.
Right.
And that's when I'm running both of my old lasers that I felt like they were being held together by band-aids. I was spending so much time like begging them and praying for them that
Yeah.
they would keep working because they were starting to fall apart. And I started working like 6:30 in the morning until 11 o'clock at night, just making more bunny bobbins. And I was running out of material so fast. Like I'd order like, I don't know, 50 sheets at a time. And it was like $700 worth of material. And I'm not used to
Yeah.
dealing with inventory like this. And I'm like running out of material and just spending more and more money on material. Um, and like there'd be times when I'd have to order more material and I'd have to wait like a week before it got here. And in that time, I'm like pulling like $1,000 days
Oh,
on
my.
in my website. And at one point in time, I had over 200 orders just sitting waiting to be filled in my shop. And it it was absolutely wild. I
Wow.
think I sold probably 30 to $35,000 worth of bunny bobbins in 2 months. And
Wow.
again, not normal for me at
Right.
all. Like when something goes viral and it's attached to a product and a sale, like I was just spinning. And
Wow.
I
So
mean, I was
you're,
grateful for it.
yeah. So what I'm seeing is complete life upheaval, just personal
Yeah.
life, but also from a business perspective, you can't get material in fast enough to keep up with the orders, which is
Yeah.
incredibly frustrating. And then I got to believe cash flow becomes an issue. And how much do I invest? Does this shut off tomorrow? And then I'm sitting here with a garage full of wood that I have no use for. I mean, that's got to just
Yeah.
be really challenging time. Wow.
It was crazy. I mean, I was never like ordering like 1,000 sheets of material at a time. It was usually like 100 or less. And I was basically basing that on the amount of orders that were coming in and just kind of projecting it out a little bit. My supplier was great. He knew what was happening. He was like filling the orders for me as soon as I was sending them over to
Uh
him.
huh.
So that was great.
Yeah.
It was just I don't have employees, and
Yeah.
I didn't want to hire anybody because I like working alone, to be honest. And so it was wild. And then I also my kids were in school. My son was playing baseball, and so like if I wasn't at a baseball game, man, I was in my studio making these bunny bobbin sets
Yeah.
and then sheep and stuff like that. It was just a super wild time. And the cool thing about this happening when it did was the months before this were really bad, like financially for my business.
Uh-huh.
And to the point where I had to get a part-time job that I was really not wanting to get.
Yeah.
Also, like our dryer died, or our washer, I think it was our dryer. Our
Of
dryer
course.
died, and yeah, and it was tax time, and we found out that my husband had gotten a new job and he had filled out his W-4 wrong, and so he
Oh
hadn't been
no.
getting taxes taken out of his paycheck for almost a year.
Oh no.
And yeah, and so we had this huge tax bill, and the dryer, and then my kids were going to Young Life camp in the summer, and it was a lot of money, and I just felt like all of these things were just kind of crashing down on me. And then the bunny bobbins happened. And
The Lord
like,
the Lord says you need money, here's money.
yes, here's your money. It's crazy how like God provides for you in the weirdest ways. Like, who
Yeah.
would think that bunny bobbins would be the way that I can tell the story of God's provision in my
Right.
life.
Right.
But the bill got paid for, camp got paid for. Um, the dryer was covered under a warranty that we forgot we had.
Oh. Oh.
And um, and then there was enough money left over for me to buy a brand new laser and retire my flagship original laser.
Uh-huh.
And so everything worked out, and it was crazy, but I'll always be thankful for that season of life because it was a huge, huge shift for my business, as well as a story of how God provided for my family.
Yeah. How cool is that? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So what you got from this guy was basically animal shaped wood pieces that are designed to wrap thread around. And
Yeah, I got a digital file of
yeah.
that, and then
Okay.
I use the digital file to cut the pieces in my own
Right.
home.
And then through all the iterations, then you end up with permission to create whatever animals you have, because what you have different kinds of dogs and all kinds of things. Uh,
Yeah,
so the original concept you got from him, and then you were
correct.
and permission to take that and make it grow. Because
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, because the dogs, I'm not a dog owner, but I could just see people who have, I want dachshunds. I want a whole bunch of dachshunds to put my thread
Yep.
on, or yeah, whatever dog it is. Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah, I had a lot of people, a lot of customers that once I started doing the bunnies, they're like, "Do you have any other animals?" And I was like, "No."
Yeah.
And so I started designing them. And then after I did about six, I got to like the llamas and the Highland cows. I was like, this is actually like, I'm not very good at this design stuff. And so I actually hired a graphic designer to create all of my woodland creatures
Oh.
and all of my dog breeds besides the dachshunds. And those designs of like the foxes and the bears and the deer, and like there's a doodle in there, and like they're just there's a bulldog. They're all just so cute. And like when I look at their little faces from this artist, this designer that made them for me, it's like, oh my gosh, she's so good at what she does. And
Uh-huh.
she like, when you design the animal, you have to do it in such a way that like the chest and the hind legs fit within the slot. And
Right.
so she honed in on that and understood that design concept. And she has created 10 animals for me that are just the most
Yeah.
darling animals. And like if you have a certain dog breed and one, like there's a bulldog, a corgi, a doodle, um a lab, there's one other in there, I can't remember what it is right now, but like if you have any of those animals and you're also a stitcher, like it's just the cutest little way to
Yeah.
store your thread.
Yeah. For people who are listening, there'll be pictures all over the postings, but yeah, it's these little wood animal shaped pieces that you wrap. They're bobbins, and then they come in what you call it a corral. It's a wooden
Yep.
box with slots, and so you just line them up. So for a project, then you can just line up your colors. And was there 15? Was it 15 in a box?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So 15 colors. Just the
I would
neatest
say
thing.
that they're like a creative indulgence. They are
Yeah.
not necessary.
Right.
They're just so cute. And if you have like a desk or like a shelf that you want to put them on, and for me, I personally like to, I'll just actually go to the store and find like a color palette of colors, like 15 colors that I love, and then I'll buy those colors from the little DMC display, and I'll put them in there because they're just beautiful colors together.
Right.
So I'm not like a serious stitcher like many of my customers are, where they're like, well, where are you supposed to put the number? And I have 400 different threads. There's no way I could put 400. I
Right.
could buy 400 of these. I was like, you're right. You're not going to do that. But if you had like, let's say your mom passed away and she had passed on her embroidery thread collection. If you wanted to save like 15 of those and put them in a really special, like a bobbin corral, and like that would be kind of like your showpiece or something like that. So, and for me, I mean, because I have a laser, I have like 10 sets. I can put all of my thread on
Right.
them.
Right.
But for other people, it's not necessarily to house your entire collection. It's really it's just cute, and stitchers like cute kitschy things, and everything is a little indulgent, I would say. It's not all super
Right.
necessary and practical, but I mean, we're artists and creatives. Like, we are not always practical people, right?
What's practical? Come on, give me a break. Uh,
Right. Yeah.
we aren't playing that game. Yeah, no, I mean to me there, from a use perspective, they're single project uh, items. Where if I have a project that I'm going to do, I would set up a set of bobbins with those colors, because like I'll put them on rings or on thread drops or all manner of things. So I would set them up, and then I would have this handy little box with all these
Yeah,
colors lined up. And why not? It's fun. It adds an element of fun to it. Yeah.
it
How? But
does.
but I did have that question. How are people marking the things for the various colors? Have you seen what people do?
Yeah, the thing that I came up with was I take a piece of washi tape and I put it on the side of the box. And
Oh.
then I just, when all the threads are lined up, then I just write the number of the thread color on that piece of washi tape.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't
Hmm.
think about that. I was thinking about putting it on the animals. I thought I don't want to put anything sticky on the little animal head or anything.
And I
That
have seen other people take a scissors and cut out the number and like tack it down somehow. To me, that seems a little too much.
yeah,
I just found that the washi tape on the side works the best. And then if you are going to switch them out ever, you just peel that washi tape off and put a new piece on. And but for me, my bobbins that I have thread on are more of a permanent thing than a temporary thing. I also, the bobbins kind of ran their course, I also created a travel bobbin.
yes, I love that
Um,
one. Oh, I love that one.
okay,
That's
good.
great. Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
so it has slots for 6 different colors. There's also a magnet on there for a needle minder. And so you can wrap like if you're going on a trip and you don't want a bunch of loose thread, you can just wrap your thread around the travel bobbin and then use those 6 colors for your project. And then you can just stick I tend to like stick my needles on the magnet and then kind of poke them into the first color of thread a little bit. And that's a
Yeah.
really secure way of keeping your needles in place in your stitch bag.
Yeah. Oh no, for of all the things you have when it for stitching, when it comes to useful, practical, functional pieces, that I thought that was a great idea. And
Thank you.
because and to even have two or three, if you have a lot of colors for a project, to
Yep.
have two or three, a whole lot better than a ring with a whole bunch of um, piles of thread on a bobbin or on a thread drop or whatever. Oh no, I really
Yeah.
like those. Those are really good.
Oh,
And I
thank
like the
you.
I like the way you made kind of little saddles for each color, so that
Mm-hmm.
that they stay orderly. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Bingo.
And
Yep.
then there's also like a little slot where you can slide the end of your thread in so it doesn't get loose and unwind.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and that's the fun. Another fun thing about the animals is what is just under their chin. There's is the slot so you can anchor
Yep.
the thread. I love that. It's just
Thank
little
you.
things. Yeah, it's
Yep.
fun. It's just fun stuff. Yeah, it's just great fun. Yeah. So you sell these now. So if I buy one, I buy a corral, and then 15 animals. And can I can mix and match animals or
So the
You
way that they work is generally that's actually a really good idea. I should consider doing that. But they generally it's like a box of bunnies, a box of sheep, a box of
okay?
llamas. The woodland creatures you can either get like all squirrels, all bears, all deer, or you can get all five woodland creatures, three of each in the box. And the same thing with the dogs. You can get all five dog breeds, or you can choose which dog breed that you want.
Okay.
Um, but I should actually, that's a great idea to put a mix and match in there so people can kind of choose what they want.
Yeah. 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 Fun. Well, that Highland cow, the Highland cow is for me. That's
I know. Aren't they so cute?
yeah. I mean, it's just such a great looking animal anyway, and the way your
Hmm.
artist did that is just spot on. Yeah. Really great. Yeah. Fun stuff. That's yeah. That's why we had to talk because
Yep.
it's just those little things that make add a little extra fun to stitching. And
I agree. Yep.
yeah, yeah. No, that's terrific stuff. So then, so that's a fairly standard product for you now. I mean, that's kind of the core is these bobbins then.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a core. It's definitely an arm. I before the bobbins ever came into existence, my bread and butter was actually engraving Ticonderoga pencils, which also came out of a COVID thing when
Yeah.
nobody was allowed to share school supplies anymore.
Oh.
I had my laser, and I was like, well, why don't we try to engrave pencils? And it was kind of the same thing as the bobbins in the sense that I had a reel that went viral and I got a bunch of orders and probably, I don't know, maybe sold like $20,000 worth of pencils in 2 months. Like it was crazy. And so now the pencils have also become a regular staple in my store. And then I also, do a couple other things as well.
Yeah.
But like I just have I would not necessarily say that my online shop or my business in general is super streamlined in like, this is the direction that I'm going. For
Hmm.
me, it's more along the lines of like, well, this worked, let's keep doing that. And that didn't work, let's pull that out. And so, like, I have engraved pencils and teacher stuff, and then I've got engraved drinkware, and then I've got these stitching things. I also host crafting retreats, and so it's kind of something out in the left field a little bit. On when you think of a business, you wouldn't necessarily think of all of those things going together.
Right.
But I just do a little bit of everything, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I like the garden markers too. Those are really
Hmm.
nice. Yeah. And
Thank you.
would hold up in the weather. Yeah. Excellent.
They do, yeah.
Yeah. The boho rainbow stitch sampler. That is one unique thing. Where does that come from?
So it's wood embroidery. I actually had done a project at one of my retreats. I had a guest teacher come and she taught a wood embroidery class. It's essentially just like regular embroidery, except for instead of working with fabric, you're working on a thin piece of wood. There are modifications that you have to make just because, it's either more for it's I would say it's probably less forgiving. So like the back of your project might be a little messier because of the kind of knots that you have to create and things like that just to tack things in place. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Once I started doing the bobbins and then I did the travel bobbin, I was talking to a really good friend of mine and she's like, you need to create now a project that people can do
Hmm.
with
Yeah.
the thread that is being wrapped around all of these bobbins. And so I came up with the stitch sampler project and, filmed a tutorial on YouTube about how to do all five of the stitches.
Yep.
And then I cut all of the materials on my laser. I include all the thread. Well, you have the option of including the thread. And then I also include a travel bobbin in there for them to use as well with the 6 color slots. And it's been a fun project to offer to stitchers.
Yeah. I watched the video. I got a kick out of the cardboard template for when you put the
Yep,
frame on the base. And you said you get one shot at this. Don't screw it
that's right.
up.
Don't screw it up.
I got a
It's
chuckle out of
amazing
that.
though. That cardboard works perfectly because it's pretty thick and it's probably the thickness of both of the materials when you're stacking
Uh
it
huh.
on. So as long as you're just on a flat surface, which in the video I wasn't on a very flat surface, but if you have a flat surface, um, it's you just put the base in and then you peel off the backing of the 3M material and then you slide it on. There's not a lot of room for error,
Right.
and it works pretty well.
Yeah. Well, what I thought on that when I saw that thing and watched the video, I was thinking um, uh, seasonal colorways. So
Hmm.
four of them that I might put on a table with seasonal colorways, and I could see putting little extra things on for Christmas or whatever.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, so that struck me as I can't just do one. I'm going to have different colors. But yeah, that's a fun piece and a quick put together thing. I mean, that's a quick stitch
Yeah.
and assembly and you got a nice little tabletop visual thing. Yeah, it's
Yeah, and especially if you're like a seasoned stitcher and you just like to keep your hands busy, like it's just something that you can do at a baseball tournament or, on your couch at night. It's like people just like to keep their hands busy. If you know what you're doing, it's like a mindless project.
yeah,
And then if you don't know what you're doing, then it's a cool way to learn five or
right,
six stitches.
yeah. So all right, I want to we got to talk about the ugly part,
Yeah.
the counterfeiting part, because that just irks me, and people need to be aware of this and need to be careful when they're buying to make sure they're not
Yes.
supporting counterfeiters. So what happened to you?
Yeah, so shortly after the Bunny Bobbins went viral on social media, I was scrolling one day on Facebook and I saw a website. I think it was called McLeansewing.com. I saw my video that I
Hmm.
created. It was basically me just picking up one of my bobbins naked with no thread on it, and then putting it down and then picking up another one with the thread wrapped around it. Like it was my backyard, my thumb in the video, everything. And it was on somebody else's website. And I was like, that's weird. And so, like, I messaged them to remove it. They didn't. I messaged them again. They didn't. I asked my Instagram followers to go over and request that they remove it. They
Right.
didn't. They ended up blocking me. And then I started hearing other people say, hey, I saw your pictures on Temu, or hey, I saw, and then I was like, well, that's interesting. So I went to like Amazon and I searched up bunny bobbins, and I found my pictures of
Oh.
my bunny bobbins on a bunch of product listings. It was also on Walmart, Temu, Alibaba,
Oh.
AliExpress,
Holy
and a
smokes.
handful and a handful of Shopify and independent websites. And to be clear, I do not have the sole rights to sell the bunny bobbin. Anybody in the world that wants to buy the design from the original designer has the rights to sell 100 of these units.
Yeah.
And they obviously, just like me, had the rights to buy a perpetual license from the original maker to sell as many as they wanted. The problem was is that they were using my product photography to
Right.
sell their counterfeit versions of the product. And and that was the rub. And I've had this happen to me before with a handful of other products. And for many, many, many years, I was like, well, there's nothing I can do about it. I don't have a case against these people. It's hard to prove stuff. I also don't have the money
Right.
to hire a lawyer to to fight this for me. And most maybe wouldn't understand this industry that well and be able to deal with it. Plus, a lot of these were Chinese companies overseas.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, there's nothing I can do about it. And I mean, I tried to report it to Amazon and a couple other places, and I just didn't get any traction with it. So then out of nowhere, a gentleman named Will emailed me and he's from a company called Edison, and they are an intellectual property um, fraud company that basically finds issues like mine of widespread international intellectual property infringement and works on the small business owner's behalf to get those products taken down all across the world. And they basically use AI to find any instance of my photos um, being duplicated anywhere on the internet, and um, they go through a legal process to either get them completely erased from the internet um, or basically just sue them for
Yeah.
money, and
Uh huh.
hopefully they learn their lesson and then take down the products themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't generally answer emails like this. And it wasn't like a super like long thing. It was like, hey, we saw instances of your products, your product photography being used here and here. What are you doing about taking them down? And I just replied, I was like, nothing. Like I don't know what to do. And then he emailed me back and he's like, well, hey, why don't we hop on a chat? This is what we do. So we talked
So
and
this guy ended up being
and
legit because I get things for websites and stuff all the time. And I answer none of them because half of them I know are
right.
scams. So
And I'm the same way.
this guy actually ended up being a legit company who is actually going to work on your behalf. Then,
Yes. So
yeah.
I asked for some references, and he gave me a handful of women, small business owners on Instagram that were having this a similar situation happen to them, whether it
Mm-hmm.
was photos or if it was the actual design of a product. And so I reached out to those companies, those women on Instagram, and they're like, "Yep, he's totally legit. We're in the middle of a legal process right now." One of them is like, "I've already received money for the settlement for this."
Oh,
And then Will explain to me, like, we have two different services. We have a takedown service, which costs you money. It's $100 a month per marketplace. And we patrol those marketplaces for your products and we get them taken down immediately. And I was like, well, I don't have $100 per marketplace per month. And he's like, okay, so the other service is a lawsuit and we only take cases that we know that we can win, and your case is so widespread all across the world, we know that we can win this case. And so they said that they found 380 individuals or businesses around the world, mostly in China, that had stolen my product photography. And
wait a minute.
within those three,
380 companies
yeah,
stole your.
yeah.
Oh my word. Oh my.
Yeah. And some of them manipulated the photos so that like my nail polish was a different color,
Uh huh.
or at one point I saw one photo where it was my hand holding a corral of animals. The animals were actually cats, but they were advertising for the dachshunds. They had changed my fingernail color, and then they had made a different dachshund that wasn't even mine. It was somebody else's, and they had added it to the photo.
Oh
And
my.
so, but the AI can detect any original photo of mine, even if it's been modified.
Oh, okay.
And so within those 380 small businesses that had stolen my product photography, there was over 870 website listings of my
Wow.
products
Wow.
being counterfeited for the photography. Now, if they had just taken their own pictures, it would have been fine.
Yeah.
I would not have a case.
Yeah.
But because they had stolen my product photography, I did. And so basically, I was like, well, I have nothing to lose. This doesn't
Right.
cost me any money. All they do is take a percentage of the settlement when the money comes in from
Mm-hmm.
this whole process. So even if I don't make any money on it, which I mean, I'm not trying to like make money off of anything, but like, my sales plummeted
Yeah.
after people start, and like I saw the bunny bobbins and all the bobbin products for $35 a piece. My material for each one costs about $10, and like Temu and Alibaba were selling the actual bobbins for like $9,
Uh,
so like they were undercutting my price and using my photography. So my sales just plummeted
yeah.
and I wasn't really selling anything anymore. And like even some of my customers were accidentally buying these counterfeit versions on Temu because they thought they were mine because it was my
Oh.
product photography. And so I was like, well, I have nothing to lose. And so the process is long. It's very legal geeky, but basically what they do is they get a temporary restraining order with the judge. They present that restraining order to all of the businesses. That business order or restraining order freezes their US bank accounts that they have
Oh.
and keeps all of their money in there until they either settle voluntarily with us or they don't and they abandon the bank accounts, and then we just take all the
Take it.
money.
Yeah.
And so I've already received one payout check, which I'm not going to go into numbers, but it was
No.
it was plenty.
Uh huh.
And then and that was from all the people that volunteered to settle. And then pretty soon I'll be receiving like a second and final check, which is basically like a sweep of all of the people that essentially didn't settle or abandoned their bank accounts.
Yeah. Wow. So
Yeah.
this is so cool because and I was so glad that you were willing to talk about it because it happens to artists all the time, and I could easily find you 50 needlework
Yeah.
artists who have had their stuff stolen and have lost money, and it basically is a disincentive to design new things because you go
Yes.
what for, and so I'm so glad. So Edison is the company.
Hmm.
All right, so that's
They're out of Austin, Texas.
okay. Wow. So
Their website is edisonlf.com.
EdisonLF.com. Okay.
lf.com.
I'll
Yep.
put a link for people because that's good to know because you get those emails and it's like, no, I'm not even responding to you because I know that rabbit hole is going to be
Right.
ugly. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and there is some criteria for this. Like I said, mine was international and it was
Right.
widespread.
Right.
It's not a situation where a maker gets her design copied by somebody on Etsy.
Yeah.
Um, it has to be widespread. It has to be financially worth it to get lawyers involved and their IT
Sure.
or IP department involved, and like everybody needs to eventually at the end of the day get paid.
Yeah. Right.
So it's not a pro bono service, it's not a small scale thing, but I have talked to other people that have had similar situations. Like I spoke with an art teacher who created a book, like an actual printed book about how to start drawing and how to be a successful artist
Mm-hmm.
as a like a pencil drawer. And some Chinese company had like completely, like they probably bought her book and then like copied the pages and recreated the book on their own, and are selling it on a widespread massive scale.
Yeah.
And so it's big deals in and that sounds terrible to say because every deal of copyright infringement or theft of design is a big deal emotionally.
Yeah.
But in this situation, it has to be kind of a big deal geographically and very, very widespread.
Right. And then they can go. Then they'll go after it. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. But that's not unfortunately not unusual for that to happen. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, boy, I'm glad you responded to them. I'm sure you are.
Me too.
Yeah. Now, do they follow up to make sure that these companies don't post anymore? Is there an aftermath kind of thing, or is that a separate
So
deal?
it's kind of separate in the sense that like you hope that the majority of these people just take it down because they don't want to get prosecuted again. The lawsuit does not ensure that they won't keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It basically is just a money grab and helps you get paid for it.
Okay.
But I would say that the majority of my bunny bobbins after people got their restraining orders were pulled from the internet. You could still go to like Temu and find a couple of them. There is also, if there's still enough of them still doing it or new ones have popped up, there's a round two
Okay.
that's a possibility as well.
Yeah.
It's generally a smaller amount of people, smaller amount of money. But if, I mean, all of the work's already been done, and if there's still enough, they'll go ahead and do a round two.
Yeah.
If you do the takedown services, which are the paid services for $100 per marketplace per month, their job is to wipe them out and keep them off the internet. So
Okay.
some people might do the lawsuit in the first place or do the lawsuit and the takedown service at the exact same time
Oh.
because they're super like I have to do this. I know one company that did that. Um, for me, it was a viral product that did its thing for a while. My entire business is not bunny bobbins. And so for me, I haven't done the takedown service. I've just kind of rode the wave and was thankful for it. And now I'm thankful that this lawsuit is
Right.
helping me out quite a bit. But I have other products that I'm also selling. So I'm not putting all my financial eggs in a basket to
Yeah.
battle this necessarily.
But regardless, the effort made you whole enough that you felt uh, good about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, not talking numbers, but like
Don't want the
the
numbers.
amount
Don't want the numbers. No.
the money that's coming in from it is like helping me send my kids to college
Okay.
and helping invest in retirement and pay off my kitchen remodel, things
Yeah.
like that. So
Right.
so it's definitely been worth the process. And also, there's very little that I had to do in the entire thing. The only thing I had to do was figure out the year and the month that I took the pictures in the first place.
Oh,
And then they've literally done everything.
boy. Can't beat that. That's great.
No.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for sharing that because that's important. And people, buy your own and buy it from legitimate places. And I've never been to Temu, and now I am never going to Temu for
Oh,
anything.
no, they're terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, there's just so many illegitimate train wrecks out there that they just want your money. And yeah, it's
Well, and
all
I've
over.
seen that a lot with like stitch kits on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
There's like this one company that creates these beautiful stitch kits. I can't remember who they are right now. Maybe like no, I can't remember their name. But I was like, I want to buy that so bad, but I have no idea if I'm buying it from the original
Yeah.
creator or some knockoff. And
Yep.
so I think it runs rampant in the stitching community, and it's high time that small business owners and makers and creatives have a resource like this in their back pocket.
Yep.
Because honestly, I feel like if enough of us have this situation happen and enough of us fight it and battle it and win it, these scammers are going to just either quit doing it and go get a job at McDonald's, or they're going to find a different industry to rattle because
Right.
we're tired of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I do a lot of cycling, and counterfeit cycling parts are equally rampant. And
Mm,
but there, if the price is too good to be true, it's automatically all right. Stay away from it. And
right.
for some industries, it's easier to detect. Needlework is just not one of those.
Yeah.
It's just not. All right, enough of that. More positive. We're gonna, and of course, we've run over time here, but your retreats. Let's go to something positive. Your retreats, not for me.
Oh,
That's a women's weekend thing, is what I got out of that. But tell about
it
these
is.
retreats and what you're doing with them.
Oh man, my retreats have my heart. They're just, I come alive when I get to host a retreat. So basically, women from all over the country will register and then fly in. Most of my retreats are held down at a private home in Texas. I have a friend that owns a beautiful house on a pond, 10 acres.
Yeah.
And she also cooks for me and preps her house.
Oh
And
boy.
she's amazing. And she actually hosts her own retreats now as well. But so people will fly in from all over the country. We stay at a house together. And mostly it's moms and grandmas. And like, moms and grandmas are always like cooking for other people and getting gifts and doing all these things and like serving other people all the time. And for 5 days, they get to come and receive and be blessed and don't have to cook, don't have to plan a menu, don't have to wash the dishes. They get to craft for fun and meet other people and just have a wonderful time together. So down in Texas, we've gone to Magnolia a lot of times
Oh
to go check out Chip and Joe's place in
yeah.
Waco.
Yeah.
We always have one day that's like a field trip day. I've kind of retired Magnolia, and now we've moved on to the Round Top Antique Show. And so next month, we're going to be going down to Texas and doing a bunch of projects. I have a guest teacher that's teaching 2 classes, and then I'll be teaching 2 classes. And then my host, who is a stitcher, will be teaching a stitching project for
Oh.
us. And then we're going to be going to the Round Top Antique Show in March and going to Junk Gypsy and eating in downtown Round Top, which is a tiny little speck on the map. And then we're going out to a ranch out near Round Top, and we're going to do like a trucker hat bar. And we actually get to cuddle. We get to cuddle Highland cows. They have Highland cows there, and we get to
Oh
cuddle with
boy.
them for a little bit too. Yeah, so it's just a great time, and I feel like they're not a faith-based retreat, but I am a Christian woman, and so a lot of the people that come on my retreats are also Christian women. So
Mm-hmm.
faith ends up being a topic of conversation, but it's not like a church women's retreat where like there's music and a speaker and devotionals and all that kind of stuff. It's a much more relaxed atmosphere where people just kind of get to be themselves. And it's amazing because what I find is like the projects are cool and they're cute and stuff like that, and you're learning a new skill. But the reality is the magic kind of happens either in between projects, or like when you're working on a project with your hands and you're looking down at your project. There's something about that that just opens up your heart to the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
And so connections get made, conversations. Like I've seen like a brand new teacher came to retreat that connected with like a veteran teacher, and they were able to talk about like, how do I do this? And,
Uh-huh.
I've also seen recent widows connecting with widows that have been widows for a long time.
Oh.
How do I do this
Oh.
life without my spouse? And so I just feel like the right people always sign up, and the right people come and they meet the people that they're supposed to meet. And in the process of that, we get to do some cute crafts and just have a great time together.
Yeah. Wow. Sounds great. And sounds like a
Yeah,
great
they're
place.
great.
It sounds like a great place to have it too. Wow. Yeah.
Yes.
But now you are doing these as you can in other places in the country too, right? I mean, at least you have.
I have. Yes, I've done them in Kansas at it's a very famous kind of quilty stitchy place called the Whatever Craft House. It's a 3-story Victorian in the middle of Newton, Kansas, which is just a dot on the map. And they've decorated it to be a crafting retreat place where you can go. There's like 16 twin beds. They all have
Oh.
like antique um, like stitched quilts on them. There's like collections of craft supplies and art, like globe collections and things. The house is just super inspiring and beautiful. And I've done retreats there. I had a friend who had a friend on a lake house in North Carolina, and so on Lake Gaston, and so I did 2 retreats there. I also have done a handful of retreats here on the Oregon coast. I just got done with one in July here.
Uh-huh.
I mean, this retreat was literally 3 minutes from my house, which I'm not used to. I'm used to traveling an entire day to get to where I'm going.
Right.
But the Oregon coast is a beautiful place
Yeah, it
that people
is.
from all over the country want to come and visit. So I should be doing them here as well because it makes my life a little bit easier.
Right. Right. So, okay. So information for that is on your website, SelaCreativeCompany.com. People should check that out. And then, of course, the bunny bobbins and the Highland cows and the dogs, and, get your favorite dog type.
They're all there.
Yeah, all very cool. Lots of other stuff, other great stuff. Oh, I was going to ask you on your engraved pencils, you have Maggie May. And just the other day, I was listening to Rod Stewart's unplugged version, which is to me the best version of that song. And so I was going to ask you: are you a Rod Stewart fan, or did you
It's just a customer who has a kid that is named Maggie May. So they
literally?
might be a Rod Stewart fan.
Okay, okay. Now I
Yep.
saw that because that's not a name that just comes out. That's
hmm
oh, that's great. Yep. Okay.
I
So
think the mom is a real old soul, the one that ordered that. She's a friend of mine. So
okay. All right. Just wondered about that. All right. Dana Jones, SelaCreativeCompany.com. Wow, what a great story. Thanks so much for sharing.
absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
All right. And thanks to everyone for listening.